is to have all sorts of props, especially the soft stuff. So if you have an extra mat or blanket, blocks, cushions, just it'll be improvisatory in how we get things propped up, and then maybe I just offer a few, just some premise, just to set us up so we know what it is we're doing or not doing. If we were to take it in that rather binary way, having action and having receptivity, maybe a yoga practice is more akin to that yang or that action style of work. Do this, move this, activate that. And what we'll be doing in this more yin or restoration style of yoga is entering into a more receptive state, an allowance, kind of a fruitional approach. So if you're accustomed to having an intention or a goal and moving in that direction, this will be a complete departure from that. And so as we're seated like so, I just invite us to connect to a soft breath. And in these soft breath moments, you might feel or just inquire if you are coming with a particular intention. Sometimes we can feel our motivations or our drives or our desires for a certain outcome. Now, as we go through several poses, please know that we'll be holding them, but we're not holding them actively. In fact, we'll be holding them as a way to allow for a greater and a greater relax and release of the body, so that our awareness can effortlessly be felt in much deeper layers of our person. Whereas in certain actionable styles, we may have used the breath as a tool to cleave or to move or to press or to elicit a response. Let our breath for this practice be something like a pool. In which things arise, sensations will arise inside in this pool of breath. So our first pose will be a straddle plus a fold. So the straddle it's not a hard stretch whatsoever. I've just barely separated some legs, some legs, my legs. And I'm getting a block and I'll roll out here. Okay. Now you can prop up a cushion or three underneath your abdomen, and you could actually have a cushion, a nice soft cushion with the abdomen and the whole front side of your body. I'm going to prop up a mat, a little bit of mat cushion atop some blocks. So this will be kind of my, okay. But I'm propping up so one, the stretch is not extreme, and it's something that I can hang out in for a couple of moments. So with this in mind, now just know that we'll tend to rack up several minutes in these poses. I like a lot of soft surfaces for this kind of meditation or quote unquote work, because the cushion allows you to continue sinking in. It doesn't block you from the body moving and giving into gravity. And once you've found a fold, some prop, simply allow the hands to relax. The urge for many of us is to keep fiddling and arranging and adjusting the circumstances so that we feel it just right. And there probably won't be a just right. No active feet. Now, as you do start to notice some sensations in your body, it's kind of an invitational attitude toward those. Feeling the wrists release any tension, especially at the root of the thumb digit. Feel the shoulders letting the weight of the arms kind of be released toward the earth. Feel the back of the neck letting go. So often if we've done yoga together, it's not uncommon that we're working with the content of our experience. The content being the sensations and the emotions, the energies, the breath. In this style of yoga, for me, it's a perceptual shift. So I'm really becoming the context I'm that field of awareness that the sensations are kind of surfacing in. I'm that pool of breath in which all of these noticings are occurring. Because these poses will be held a little bit longer and more softly, with fewer actions. You can work on the fascia system, the network, the connective tissue of the body. And our connective tissue is a deeply perceptual part of our body. Might feel some of those little connective tissue almost like unhooking, like little blips and unhookings. So we're going to begin to exit this first pose very slowly. Every single transition I encourage you to do with exquisite softness. I want to take a moment between these poses so that we can absorb the not only the effects, but just absorb this new perceptual terrain that these slight shifts in our perceptual lens. So we're going to very carefully lie on our back, and you might just like lying back with the legs apart. You might want to scooch them in a little bit. I'd recommend using your hands. You can actually lie on your back. Some people find this just so immediately necessary and restorative. For many of us, this lack of action can feel a bit unnerving at first. Like, what should I do? I need to be doing something. I need to be adjusting. I need to. Silence is profoundly supportive. And for our body to know moments of kinetic silence. It's like a nutrient. Like we're absorbing nutrient S. All right, we're going to move into our next pose, which will look and feel just like our lying spinal twist. So bend right knee. And we can preset props on the left side of our body. And with the right knee bent, I'll turn, placing the right knee on a best surface. Some blankets, happen to have a roll here. Okay. Now the right arm can be just behind your right ear. It might be hanging off the ground. It might be partially resting on the ground. And I'm making virtually no effort to hold my right leg across the body. So as soon as you establish the position, you're just starting to relinquish the efforts of holding. So I like to start in a few kind of key places, the hands. I like to feel the hands grow quite soft. Gravity. By feeling the mass of your body, the particles. Settling effortlessly toward the ground. The quality of being held by the ground can encourage further release. In a sense, we're setting up the conditions for our body and our mind to feel safe enough to rest more deeply. Letting the back of the skull feel absolutely held by the ground. To gradually and continually open the body. Seems to need a companion piece of feeling grounded, meaning we can trust this next depth. We can trust our experience in this next more open moment. The face muscles and the eye muscles relax. Right. And it'll be time to switch sides here. So again, transitions, all of them exquisitely smooth and careful. Moving spine back to ground. And pausing for a moment when you're back on ground. Keep the knees bent. Tent the knees into one another. We'll just use this middle position, this neutral lying moment. It's to appreciate any subtle shift. All right, now we trade sides. So this lying spinal twist. We'll bend the left knee and turn onto your right side. Now the sides of the spine muscularly might feel a little different. So you might have to prop one leg a little higher than the other. Making sure the neck doesn't feel at a funny angle. And place the left arm out beside you, which is kind of slightly behind you. And unless you have a really extensive kind of meditation background, it might take a little bit to shift into that mode where we become the field, the pool in which all these sensations like the pressure on the hip, the tug of gravity can be experienced. That's precisely the beauty of Shavasana and Yin and these quiescent styles. It allows us to play with making that shift, allowing whatever occurs to be discoverable, to be met. Even that little tension that you may have a strategy for releasing. Is it possible to simply feel the tension without adding anything into the experience? So really becoming a clear mirror for experience. We'll make our way back onto our back. And when you get to your back, and take yet another rest moment. And this can be done with the knees bent and tented or straightened out. Your choice. We're searching for that least effortful position where we can become the listening. This field of listening. You can feel the little crookedness of the weight shift, the beat of the heart. And it's all perfect, exactly as it is. Because a lot of these moves, the length of the time, the coolness of the practice, it acts on the connective tissue in a really particular way. Something I've noticed is when that little perceptual shift starts to catch and feel like the whole connected body almost starts to almost have a spinning or a reorientation feeling. All right. Now, for our next pose, kind of revisit these hips. So take your time to turn onto a side, and you might like to press yourself up. Okay. Now, I happen to be a fan. Some people call this Virasana or Thunderbolt. But we're adjusting 2 knees bent. Now, if the knees don't bend, shin on ground, we can elevate the buttock. Okay. So I might go like so. And we'll be making our way onto our back. So first item is the knees. If the butt doesn't go to the floor, then maybe we elevate the butt first. Now our next move is back down, and because my butt's elevated, I am making sure that my spine is elevated also. I want mild ultra. Okay. Now, let's say the back, start to make your way back, and you're like, oh boy, oh no. Just stack it up. So I might stack up a foot of pillows or cushion. So you can even use a couch cushion if you don't have a bunch of pillows. You can, Michelle, you can use all those. Yeah, use that stack of pillows. That would be great. Gonna add one more layer in here. Takes a little bit of propping up. Okay. And you may have to prop the head even a little bit higher than the rest of the torso. So I think I found a pretty sweet solution. Now, in terms of sensational intensity, I'm finding, let's say we're in that, there's a 0 to 10 scale. I'm finding a place that I can hang out that's kind of in the 2, 3, maybe 4, but like I'm really in that. This is quite tolerable. Once you've established a Virasana, or this thunderbolt, I'm resting with palms up. Now the connective tissue around the hip socket is a lot thicker than, say, the connective tissue maybe around those smaller neck bones. So I tend to spend a few more minutes in those larger joint areas. And if there's some places that have some discomfort, you can just do a little tiny check. Is that a tolerable or workable degree of discomfort? Now, obviously, we don't want medical pain. Good, and then really we'll start to feel the back of the head melting down. Feel the spine moving toward the earth. There might be a little buzz or a little sensation. And all of those sensations bubbling up in a much broader, expansive, and inclusive field of awareness. You can sometimes feel your body starting to pulse. And all of that connective tissue starts to shimmer in unity. Knowing it's entirely possible to grasp with the body and with these perceptual organelles to maintain a view. We understand that as we're feeling for letting go, letting the skin, the bones, the mass, the particles move as they may. There can be quite a reorientation, kind of a shift of our perspective. The allowing and the releasing is not so much an action, but opening up our perceptual lens, broadening and deepening this field, this pool of awareness. Now, the fun part is extricating ourselves from this thunderbolt. So, some people, I get some benefit if I have that ability to straighten out one leg, so I'll shift. And again, very, very slowly, very, very gradually, kind of walk one leg out. If I can get one leg straight, then I can safely tip onto one side and free up the other leg. And once the legs have been freed, if you have supplements under your spine, let's remove those. So I'm just trying to minimize my movement in order to get to a rest position. And this will be our final rest position for today, Shavasana or lying. If you like propping a bit of blanket under your kneecaps, you can add that in. So these moments of listening and allowing in our body, that's embodied allowance. That's embodied listening. We start to become the listening that we practice. We become the very heart of listening. And to help ready yourself to navigate upward, you might just barely increase your connection to your breath. Draw a large, slow circle with your ankle joints. And when you're ready to bend knees, turn onto a side. And pressing self up. Sleep well, and may we continue to find this this body a peaceful, equanimous, inhabitable place of beauty. Namaste.